What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios Channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to kick off another week of John Wayne Westerns. Today, it's The Sons of Katie Elder, starring John Wayne, Dean Martin, Earl Holliman, Michael Anderson Jr., Martha Heyer, Jeremy Slate, James Gregory, Paul Fix, George Kennedy, and Dennis Hopper. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, we're kicking off another week of John Wayne Westerns here on the channel, and today it's The Sons of Katie Elder. And as our movie opens, John Elder, who is a professional gunman, Tom Elder, who is a professional gambler, Matt Elder, an unsuccessful hardware dealer, and Bud Elder, the youngest brother who is in his first year at mining college, all reunite in their hometown of Clearwater, Texas, which is 107 miles east of Dallas in northeastern Texas, in the year 1898 for their mother's funeral. All of them sharing the regret that none of them have lived up to her high expectations of them. Now, the townspeople and the new deputy sheriff are unwelcoming to John and Tom in particular. Katie Elder, however, was beloved by everyone in the community who were all aware of her honesty, her poverty, her generosity, and her undying love for her sons who had neglected her. The brothers wanted to do something for Katie's sake, and after an argument about marble monuments ends in a brawl, they decide to send Bud back to college. However, Bud wants to emulate his eldest brother, John. Now, Morgan Hastings is a gunsmith and rising entrepreneur who currently claims the ownership of the Elder Ranch and access to water for his Hastings gun manufactory, saying that he won it from their father, Bass Elder, in a game of cards. Bass was then shot in the back that same night, and the killer is still unknown. The Elder brothers suspect foul play, and anticipating trouble, Hastings has brought in a hired gun named Curly. At first, Hastings hides his hostile attitude towards the brothers, claiming that he offered to compensate their mother for the loss, but she refused. A rancher named Stryker agrees to let the brothers drive a herd of horses from his ranch in Pecos to sell to the miners in Colorado on credit, a deal that he had started with their mother, Katie. When the wise and much loved Sheriff Billy Wilson asks Hastings some pointed questions, Hastings shoots him and frames the elders. A posse then intercepts the four brothers on their way back from Pecos with the herd. Billy dies before he can name his assassin, and a mob assembles in order to lynch the elders. The judge then insists that the elders be taken to Laredo, Texas, for their security. Now, during the transport, Hastings arranges an ambush using the deputized townsmen in the escort, except for Deputy Sheriff Ben Latta, who, despite his hostility towards the elders, remains dedicated to his duty. Curly then plants dynamite under the bridge, and in the explosion, Matt is fatally impaled by a splinter. John kills Curly, Bud is seriously injured, and Hastings kills Ben when he tries to aid the elders. John and Tom succeed in beating back the surviving ambushers, and they return to town in order to get medical help for Bud, and they barricade themselves in the blacksmith's workshop. John tells the judge, who is now acting as sheriff, that they can prove that they were miles away when Billy was killed. The judge allows the doctor to tend to Bud and sends word to Laredo for the marshal's help. That night, Tom sneaks out in order to kidnap Hastings' weak willed son, Dave. But Hastings wounds Tom in the back. Hastings then follows and shoots his own son in order to keep him from telling John the truth. In John and the judge's presence, Dave confesses his father's crimes before he dies. Now vindicated, John takes up arms in righteous fury and pursues Hastings to his gunsmith shop. After a gun battle, John shoots a cask of gunpowder inside the shop, blowing up the building with Hastings inside as our movie comes to its end. The Sons of Katie Elder was a good one. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing John Wayne and Dean Martin back together again after the success of Rio Bravo, which I reviewed last month during my Movies That Star Musicians. If you missed that review, I'll link it up here. But I felt that they had great chemistry in that movie, along with young Ricky Nelson, and that translated back over here as well. John Wayne and Dean Martin just had that rapport, and it was good to see them back together again. This movie very much reminded me of a movie I saw in the mid 2000s called Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg, Andre 3000. I want to say Tyrese Gibson, and I forget who the fourth brother was in that movie. Forgive me. But very similar vibe, very similar plot points, if you will. So this was kind of interesting to see that. It didn't completely suffer from what's been weighing back and holding back quite a few of these John Wayne movies in the runtime. It was still a little over 2 hours, and it still dragged just a little bit. But unlike some of the movies where I was saying that you could get rid of like 30 minutes and have a much better movie, realistically in this one, maybe only 5 or 10 minutes could get trimmed to not affect the story here and still present a little bit of a quicker paced movie. But The Sons of Katie Elder, I did enjoy. Definitely going to have to acquire it on DVD or Blu-ray, add it to my ever expanding media library. You'll probably see it come up on an episode of The War Zone sooner rather than later. But yeah, and then you had George Kennedy and Dennis Hopper in this movie. And George Kennedy I recognized. Dennis Hopper I didn't get to spot. So I may definitely have to go back and rewatch this again at some point just so I can pinpoint Dennis Hopper in this film. But all in all, as you see, as we start to progress and get deeper in these movies, we're starting to see a lot more actors and actresses that we know today. And that's something that's going to continue tomorrow. We'll get to that during the plugs here. But George Kennedy, of course, I know him best from the Naked Gun movies. And then Dennis Hopper, I mean, for Christ's sakes, he's legendary. When it comes to my rating of The Sons of Katie Elder, I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5. There is room for improvement. Upon multiple repeat viewings, it may go up higher in my list as far as ones that I like, ones that I dislike. But for right now, I feel that 3.5 stars out of 5 is a good start point, a good jump off point for The Sons of Katie Elder. What do you guys think? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below regarding The Sons of Katie Elder. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow right here to the Casa D18 Studios Channel as we once again open up the doors to Stat Boy Sports Bar. The food is hot, the beer is cold, and the seats are warm. So pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports conversation with your barkeeps, Stat Boy Mike and Dory Lou. And then later in the evening, right here on the Casa D18 Studios Channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media, it'll be time for the flagship show, Talk Wrestling. Immediately following NXT, 10:05 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast, that is 7:05 p.m. Pacific on the West Coast, just prior to WWE NXT. And then you will see me back here once again on Wednesday for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews as we return to the world of John Wayne and we discuss El Dorado, starring John Wayne, Robert Mitchum, James Caan, Charlene Holt, Ed Asner, Paul Fix, Arthur Honeycutt, Michelle Carey, and Christopher George. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media, Stat Boy Sports Bar, Talk Wrestling, more John Wayne flicks, El Dorado, all in store just the next 2 days right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. So make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Stat Boy Sports Bar, Talk Wrestling, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of John Wayne, fans of Dean Martin, fans of the Rat Pack, fans of George Kennedy or Dennis Hopper. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are, in fact, a monetized channel on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in today. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.